Hazel chairs the African Union High-Level Committee in Libya calls for a peaceful resolution to the country's political crisis. Good afternoon, our dear viewers. Welcome to the 1 p.m. news edition, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa here in the city of Cotonou with Hazel OGOIGBE. Now to the news in detail, starting from the local scene. Now, women's access to credit is still limited to microfinance banks in Benin Republic, and the end of the year festivities is a time for many people to make profit for those with income-generating activities, as they usually do well in business. Now, opportunities flourish, and they usually turn to microfinance institutions to apply for credit in order to meet the demand of the potential December clients. This explains the influx of people into the approved decentralized financial systems during this period.
After the commune of Bonu, Ajoun, and Misrete, Louis Bio and his delegation embarked on an information and sensitization tool of the population in Weme region on the Alafia microcredit set course for Port Novo on Wednesday in the city of Ayinovi. A room in the youth center was packed with people who came out massively because of the importance of the news. The message was the same message conveyed to the other communes. The message is to inform the population of the availability of the phase 2 of the Alafia microcredit, which is now from 50,000 francs CFAs to 100,000 francs CFAs. They also spoke on the advantages and the conditions of accessing the loans. The Director General of the National Microfinance Fund reminded potential beneficiaries that a timely repayment of the loan is the prerequisite condition that will enable the program last over time. The beneficiaries thanked the government for the initiative, which has allowed them to breathe a sigh of relief since its launch in October 2022. After the Port Novo stage, the delegation headed to Semekboji for the same exercise, and they equally received the same warmth from the beneficiaries in Port Novo. At the end of the meeting, Louis Bio said he was satisfied with the population's interest in the project. The first phase of the Alafia microcredit was a resounding success, with more than 300,000 people impacted. The loan for the second phase will be increased and will undoubtedly enable the government to achieve its objective of getting vulnerable groups out of the precariousness by putting them back to work, and thus reducing the poverty rate in Benin Republic.
Still on the local scene, the Higher School of Renewable Energy, ESMA, proceeded on Friday to the presentation of certificates to 26 technicians certified by the Economic Community of West African State Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. Now, the ceremony took place in the presence of the Minister of Energy at the headquarters of ESMA. More information in the following report.
Benin has 26 new technicians in renewable energy with sub-regional competence. The recipients received their attachment during an official ceremony organized following their success in the regional examination for the certification of the skills of off-grid solar photovoltaic systems technicians level 1. The test was organized by the ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and the Energy Efficiency in collaboration with the Beninese Agency of Rural Electrification and Energy Management.
Pour ceux qui le savent, les énergies renouvelables constituent une part importante dans le programme d'action du gouvernement. Ainsi, le Bénin pourra compter sur vous.
The objective of ACRE is to stimulate the deployment of the off-grid PV system by increasing the number of installers and practitioners qualified to effectively design, install, and maintain PV systems in the region.
Pour cette deuxième phase du programme, le niveau 1 de certification sera renforcé.
For the second phase of the program, the first level of certification will be reinforced with a vocalized institution designated and center for training. For the advancement of the certificate will be renewed with new training initiatives, followed by an examination especially for the inspectors and the installation teams. All this is to adapt to the contextualized reality to our sub-region.
Pour s'adapter à la réalité et au contexte de notre sous-région.
The GI's partner in this initiative is providing full support to women by granting them scholarship to participate in the test free of charge. Out of 33 candidates, 26 succeeded in surpassing the test, and this certification is valid throughout the ECOWAS region. The recipients are committed to the promotion of photovoltaic system through the benefits of renewable energy.
Nous allons faire aussi la promotion de tout ce qui est du bien.
We will also make promotions to all that is good in the solar system for the use of renewable energy to get as much clients as possible, so we can show them what we are made of and how we can help.
Notre capacité d'être technicien certifié.
Happy that the recipients have appropriated the government's vision of renewable energy. The minister reassured the continuation of the actions of the regional program of certification of skills and sustainable energy of ECOWAS will not suffer from the support that Benin guarantees day and night and totally and permanently.
Mais c'est de la qualité de nos femmes et de nos hommes que nos projets pourront être efficacement développés et surtout.
Like we say, there is no wealth without man. As it is the quality of our men and women that can make our project feasible and developed, especially exploiting properly our potential. This is why the Ministry of Energy have taken this program upon ourselves to make it a reality. We will take every disposition to make renewable energy a reality.
Tout, en plus de la formation, s'il y a des décisions réglementaires qu'il faut prendre, nous les prendrons.
The certification of the second in the Republic of Benin, which is one of the 5 countries, including in Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso, that have organized a similar examination in the ECOWAS region.
Moving over to Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party on Wednesday called on security agencies to probe and sanction the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over an alleged plot to derail the 2023 general elections. More information in the following brief commentary.
The People's Democratic Party on Wednesday called on the security agencies to probe and sanction the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, over an alleged plot to derail the 2023 general elections in Nigeria. The party also asked the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, to call Tinubu and his party members to order to ensure a peaceful, free, fair, transparent and credible electoral process in Nigeria. The PDP spokesperson Debo Olugunagba made the call at a press conference in Abuja. The APC candidate had in a closed-door meeting in London earlier this month told his members that political power is not going to be served in a restaurant. It is not served a la carte. It is what we are doing. It is being determined. You do it at all cost, fight for it, grab it, snatch it, and run with it. But Olugunagba said in response to this directive, APC leaders and members have now activated plots to derail the electoral process through orchestrated violent attacks in various states of Nigeria aimed at triggering a national security emergency, instilling fear, and making it appear not conducive to conduct elections in Nigeria. Continuing, the PDP spokesperson added, our party has been made aware of plans by the APC to orchestrate attacks in other states, particularly Kogi and Delta states. Also, some states of the southeast as well as parts of the north, with a view to subverting the electoral process in as many states as possible. In addition, the APC has introduced a very disturbing dimension of purchasing PVCs from unsuspecting Nigerians through monetary inducement masquerading as empowerment programs. Reacting to the claim, the spokesman for Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, Festus Keyamo, called on law enforcement agencies to invite the leaders of the People's Democratic Party for questioning. Keyamo stated that the manner the PDP spokesman and the party concocted the allegations raised at the conference connotes that they know more than they are trying to deceive Nigerians.
Away from that, Denis Sassou Nguesso, who chairs the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya, calls for a peaceful resolution to Libya's political crisis. More information on the full report from our partners.
Last week, Republic of Congo President Denis Sassou Nguesso attended the second U.S.-Africa leaders gathering. In an exclusive interview, he told VOA that this time around the goals were more defined, including helping the African Union gain a greater voice at the United Nations.
Je donne quelques exemples. Le président Biden.
For example, President Biden declared that Africa is certainly going to be a member of the G20. I believe this is a clear orientation that we appreciate. Mr. Biden also declared that in the next few years, America is going to get involved with Africa, finding its right place at the Security Council of the United Nations as a permanent member.
The G20 comprises the world's major industrial and emerging economies. South Africa is currently its only African member. President Joe Biden also said his administration will spend $55 billion to help African countries over the next 3 years.
With this summit and with the African Union's Agenda 2063, our eyes are fixed squarely on the future.
Je pense qu'il s'agit là d'avancées importantes.
That's also an important development, especially when the debate allowed us to highlight Africa's priorities. President Macky Sall, the African Union president, and all the other leaders emphasized Africa's priorities, whether it's related to basic infrastructure, developing the agriculture sector, digital, education, health, the energy question.
The White House said $165 million will be used to strengthen democracy and good governance. Yet some criticized Biden for inviting leaders who have been in power for a long time. U.S. officials said all leaders in good standing with the African Union and the U.S. got an invite.
La démocratie et la bonne gouvernance, c'est tout un processus.
Democracy and good governance are a process, and even today in certain countries in Europe, there are challenges. Even here in the U.S., we were surprised to see what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. There is lots of progress in Africa. Now, as for the leaders who have stayed in power for a long time, what if that was the will of the people? Elections are meant to ask people to share their opinions. What if the people vote in favor of stability?
Some African countries have seen a recurrence of coups, and in the case of Libya, chronic conflict. Sassou Nguesso said without peace and security, development can't be achieved.
Tant qu'on n'aura pas bien résolu le problème de la Libye,
as long as we don't resolve the Libya issue, we won't see the light at the end of the tunnel in the Sahel region. So the terrorism and violent extremism in Africa, the problem related to peace in general, is an important one. As the chairperson of the AU's high-level committee on Libya, we are in the process of organizing a reconciliation forum there.
Libya has had little peace since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that ousted Muammar Gaddafi. Sassou Nguesso has been in and out of power for over 3 decades. Asked if he's going to be a candidate at the next elections, he says at the moment he's trying to execute the programs he was elected for.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has finally bowed to pressure to revise the bank's cash withdrawal limits policy. Now, in a circular on Wednesday by the CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Haruna Mustafa, the CBN said it had reviewed upwards the maximum weekly limit for cash withdrawals across all channels by individuals and corporate organizations to 500,000 naira and 5 million, respectively.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has finally bowed to pressure to revise the bank's cash withdrawal limits policy. In a circular on Wednesday by the Central Bank of Nigeria's Director of Banking Supervision, Haruna Mustafa, the CBN said it had reviewed upwards the maximum weekly limit for the cash withdrawal across all channels by individuals and corporate organizations to 500,000 naira and 5 million naira, respectively. The CBN attributed the development to the feedback it got from stakeholders. Now, for transactions above the withdrawal limits, financial institutions are required to get details of the customers and upload same on the CBN portal created for the particular purpose. Such information includes a valid means of identification of the payee, which includes national identity card or international passport or driver's license. bank verification number of the payee, tax identification number of both the payee and the payer, and approval in writing by the managing director or the chief executive officer of the financial institution authorizing the withdrawal. It was also noted that third-party checks above 100,000 naira would not be eligible for payment over the counter, while the extant limit of 10 million naira on clearing checks still subsists. The CBN urges banks to encourage customers to use alternative channels like internet banking, mobile banking apps, USSD, cards, POS, e-naira, etc. to conduct their banking transactions. The CBN also said that it recognized the vital role that cash plays in supporting undeserved and rural communities and would ensure an inclusive approach as it implements the transition to a more cashless society. In a circular earlier, issued on the 6th of December, the CBN had said that with effect from the 9th of January 2023, the maximum over-the-counter cash withdrawal limits by individuals and corporate organizations per week will be 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively.
Crossing over to Tanzania, United Nations experts say the ice cap on Africa's biggest peak, Tanzania's Mount Kilimanjaro, is predicted to melt by 2050 because of climate change. While scientists are still looking into whether they can halt the melting, those who depend on the mountain for tourism worry about their future.
Julius Kelu has participated in various studies on Mount Kilimanjaro. His studies have revealed changes in the mountain landscape from time to time.
Many studies that we have carried out show that it is true. The glacier on Mount Kilimanjaro is shrinking.
For locals here, Mount Kilimanjaro is a sign of fortune, and it brings tens of millions of dollars to the region through 50,000 tourists who climb the mountain annually. However, like glaciers in the Antarctic and Arctic, the landscape on Mount Kilimanjaro has notably shrunk due to climate change.
We have lost the biggest tourist attraction and a market that we believe brings a lot of income to our country. Even those who work in the tourism industry, tourists who climb mountains are the ones that bring a lot of money. My biggest fear is that I will lose customers. That's money not only to me, but to the government. We will also lose the light and potential of our mountain.
Tumepoteza nuru ya mlima Kilimanjaro. Earlier this year, an intergovernmental panel on climate change report listed the melting of ice and snow as one of the 10 key threats from climate change. The United Nations says the glacier could be saved only if the world limits global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
We continue to educate the public on conservation, especially in the villages surrounding the mountain. We have also continued to insist citizens plant many trees in their places to provide for themselves and cope with climate change.
Meanwhile, Kelu believes that the glacier, while shrinking, will survive. The studies on the ice cap have been done mainly by foreigners and are lacking key experts and pieces of equipment, he says. The people who work in Tanzania's tourism industry hope he is correct.
There was anger and disappointment in Goma on Wednesday after the United Nations Security Council voted unanimously for the extension of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Congo, known as MONUSCO. More information in the following report.
There was anger and disappointment in Goma on Wednesday after the United Nations Security Council voted unanimously to extend the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Congo, known as. The first was the target of deadly summertime protests by Congolese, who said armed groups were still roaming the country's east and they were not being protected.
I don't see how MONUSCO can have another mandate when it hasn't done anything. It's been 22 years. 22 years, there's been no protection. In Rutshuru, people die while MONUSCO is there to protect civilians.
The peacekeepers were also accused of retaliating against demonstrators, sometimes with force. Kaseraka Alutani and his brothers remember the march against MONUSCO in July 2022. After the anti-United Nations protest, President Felix Tshisekedi called on a meeting to reassess MONUSCO's presence in their country.
Today the government has just renewed MONUSCO's mandate again, and we are saying no, not in North Kivu, because we will not be able to live with this criminal who murdered more than 34 unarmed civilians for having just demonstrated to demand the departure of a mission that failed to bring peace to the east of Congo.
The government called for a review of the transition plan for MONUSCO, and the Foreign Minister Christophe Lutundula later mentioned 2024 as the goal for the forces' withdrawal.
From our side, we were victims of the peaceful march against MONUSCO. Renewing this mandate is like renewing the pain we felt because we walked peacefully and there were deaths. Even others are still in prison. Our government had already announced that MONUSCO will leave by then, but we do not understand why they have just added another year. In any case, we do not agree. If they continue to kill us, we're ready to die.
Activist Jacques Zahera said the government had bowed to the international community, and the situation in Congo was worse now than when MONUSCO had arrived in year 2000. The United Nations also voted on Tuesday to lift a notification requirement on some arms purchases, which Lutundula recently called unjustified and humiliating. Separate resolutions were approved amidst worsening security in Congo's mineral-rich east, a region rife with rebel groups, and an upsurge in violence and civilian killings that has uprooted tens of thousands of its inhabitants.
On Thursday, the 15th of December 2022, in the Blue Room was the epoch-making event acknowledging literary giants in Benin Republic. Now, there were various categories which include the prize for the Literary Grand Prize of the year 2022, the Best Publisher Prize 2022, the Best Journalist Prize 2022, Benin Literary Columnist of 2022. This is the 4th edition of the Promotion of Excellence in the Literary Domain in Benin Republic.
The Literary Prize is a prize that acknowledges literary giants in Benin Republic. And among the various considerations that were given to people that excelled in various fields in the literary segment in Benin Republic, there were various segments which include the Literary Grand Prize, Best Publisher Prize, Best Journalist Prize, Benin Literary Columnist of 2022. These are the categories of the great distinctions that came out of the 4th edition of the Promotion of Excellence in Benin under the supervision of Jean-Michel Abimbola, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Arts.
Le rendez-vous littéraire le plus attendu, celui qui rassemble chaque année l'ensemble du monde du livre, s'honore d'une nouvelle édition, celle de 2022, avec ses acteurs, écrivains, éditeurs, diffuseurs, bibliothécaires, chroniqueurs littéraires.
The Literary Prize is highly awaited. This event is held each year and it is highly respected in the literary world. The 2022 new edition took place with the participation of various literary actors in 2022. Some of the literary actors include chroniclers, writers, editors, distributors, librarians, just to mention a few. My joy is that this event eventually became a reality after just a few days of the National Book Fair, an event that recognizes and distinguishes writers, cultural journalists, and editors. Apparently, the echo of the literary actors is still generating news and buzz in the press and various social media networks. This Blue Room hosted a launching of the National Book Fair, and today it is a theater for the celebration of the best production of authors and editors. I would want to address my greetings and my sincere gratitude to the different actors of the book chain for their engagement and their availability, which made this annual meeting a moment of revelation and confirmation of literary talent. Alongside his colleague to celebrate this personal culture, Eleanor Yayiladekon, the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, had the honors of calling out the winner. She had this to say.
J'imagine la grosse transpiration des membres du jury.
I imagine the heavy burden of the members of the jury. I imagine what they were confronted with, the multiplicity of the attacks ahead of them. I salute them because I know it is not easy. To this, I acknowledge our perseverance, and I encourage each and every one of us to give them a resounding round of applause. The winner of the Literary Editors Prize of 2022 goes to Jules Daniel Amosu. Recipients who received trophies and checks for different amounts gave their satisfaction to the initiators of this beautiful idea.
À la cérémonie, j'étais venu avec un discours de 3 pages. Au cas où.
Coming for this event, I came with a speech of 3 pages. Unfortunately, this year, I will not be giving you this speech. It is not because I do not have faith. I just do not want to give this speech. I want to use this opportunity to thank the Minister of Tourism and Culture and Arts, the Directors of Arts and Books, the Director of the National Benin Library, and the various actors that daily work towards promoting culture and literary habits in Benin Republic. All eyes are now on 2023 for a new edition of this trophy acknowledgement of people making waves in the literary scene in Benin Republic. Viewers, you're welcome to today's edition of the African Newspaper Review, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa here in the city of Cotonou with Hazel OGOIGBE. And as usual, we're going to be taking the rounds, touching the stories that are trending on the pages of various dailies. I have the Nation Nigeria, I have the Guardian Post Cameroon, I have the Front Page Liberia, I have the Star Kenya, and a couple of other stories. Now let's get started with the stories trending on the Nigerian scene. And I'm going to be talking about a couple of stories. I'm going to be talking about politics. I'm also going to be talking about development. And I'm also going to be talking about Buhari approval and CBN. And I'm going to be talking about the major decision made by CBN. Now let's start with this. INEC admits seeming over voting in Osun State, and it's saying another office attached to Imo State. For more of that, you can get it on pages 2 and pages 8 of the pages of the Nation Nigeria. Now below that story, this one is talking about Ike Ekwemadu, and this story is saying that the United Kingdom denies Ekwemadu bail. Now the story about Ekwemadu is this. Ekwemadu was actually one of Nigerian senators, and his daughter needed a transplant of one of her organs. Now there are various versions of the story. One of the versions of the story says there was a Nigerian that volunteered her kidney part to his daughter and decided, he said, okay, no problem, I'll fly you to the United Kingdom, you do the kidney transplant and I'll pay you this amount of money. But in arriving in the United Kingdom, this person went to the authorities to report, and now Ike Ekwemadu is held behind bars in the United Kingdom. For more of that story, you could check the pages of the Nation Nigeria. Now, of course, still on the Nation Nigeria, let's talk about this. This story is saying CBN raises weekly withdrawal cash limits to 500,000 naira. Let me give you more details on this story. Now, there has been a new central bank law in Nigeria saying that you cannot withdraw more than 100,000 as an individual. Now, Nigerians are saying, how can we survive without withdrawing more than 100,000 naira? That is so low. So there are agitations from civil societies, from political parties, a whole lot of people. And right now, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has raised the weekly cash withdrawal to the limit of 500,000 naira. Of course, this is met with excitement from different Nigerians, as Nigerians are totally excited with the fact that right now they can definitely withdraw more than that. And still on the pages of
still on the pages of the Nation Nigeria. This is talking about politics, and it's saying APC challenges PDP on plot to duel 2023 general elections. Now, the story behind that is the PDP spokesperson said that the APC and his cohort, or rather, and his various political stakeholders had a closed-door meeting in the United Kingdom. Now, they said the forthcoming election is going to be won no matter what, whether they have to fight for it, they have to snatch it, because power is not given, power is taken. Apparently, there's been a back and forth over that, as people are talking about the fact that, okay, it could be true, or it might not be true. All this and more could be found on the pages of the Nation Nigeria. Now, we're still on the African team. We're now moving over to the front page of the Namibian. Now, the front page of the Namibian is speaking today, and the top story I'm going to be speaking about is talking about the former minister Binya on fair bar hairline delays, and he says, I will reveal big things next year, says Isu on the pages of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Still on the Namibian Sun newspaper, this story is talking about stigma hampering TVET growth NTA. If you're curious about that story, you could check the pages of the Namibian Sun. And then let's quickly highlight this story. This is talking about crook-prone villages get boreholes. We all know that one of the challenges that is bedeviling the African continent is the fact that not every single community has access to borehole. And the fact that communities don't have access to borehole is a major challenge that has affected different countries in Africa, because you have the fact that they are going through a lot of drought. They cannot live without water. Water is one of the most important factors every single country needs to survive. Now, I'm going to be going away from that. We're going to be seeing the top story on the pages of the Nami, the Star Kenya. Now, what does the Star Kenya have for us today? This story is talking about academies excel as boys outshine girls. You know, there's always been a debate about the male child and the female child who should actually be educated. Back then in the 18th century, the 17th century in Africa, you found that lots of African parents, lots of African chiefs and leaders believe that the woman's place is in the kitchen and the man should be the one educated. But thank God the times have changed, and thank God right now, boys and girls are given equal education. But in Kenya, on the pages of the Star, is saying academies excel, boys outshine girls. Of course, that is a positive development on the pages of the Star Kenya newspaper. I'm going to be moving away from the Star Kenya newspaper, and I'm going to be going to another dailies. And this story is on the Nation Malawi. Now, there are various stories that are trending on the Nation Malawi today. Let's take a deep onto the pages of the Nation Malawi. Now, let's start from politics. And this is Chakwera speaking on the pages of the Nation, and he's saying, do not give up. Chakwerans tell Malawians. If you know you're curious why Chakwera is telling his fellow country people not to give up, trust me, you could check on the pages of the Nation Malawi. Now, still on the pages of the Nation Malawi, this story says, long wait for 563 million AIP phones, and that full story is on the pages of the Nation Malawi. And on the pages of the Nation Malawi, it's saying, Chivole gets fortune. Now, if you're curious about what kind of fortune Chivole gets, then trust me, you need to go to the pages of the Nation Malawi. Away from the Nation Malawi, let's see what the Daily News has in store for us. The Daily News Zimbabwe, the top stories that are trending on the Daily News Zimbabwe. And on the Daily News Zimbabwe, this story is talking about light at the end of blackouts. And on the Daily News is saying, the story says, light at the end of the blackout, the power crisis cases ahead of Christmas, New Year, and festivities. You know, when I say the concept when I read stories talking about blackouts in African countries. You know, to me, a Nigerian, I'm always like, blackout is something that's really, really very rampant in most African countries. In Nigeria, we have blackouts every single time. But in the Benin Republic, the thing about it is the light is really stable, and light is something that is the bedrock of foundation development of every society. Sadly, the daily news in Zimbabwe, they are going through blackouts on the pages of the daily news. Now, about that story, it's saying that fans blast HOC over its Rufara target. If you know you're curious, you could check more about that on the pages of the daily news Zimbabwe. Of course, we're still on the African scene. Let's see the story that is trending on the front page of the Namibian. On the pages of the Namibian, it is talking about Botswana and also talking about arrest. It's saying arrest Namibians who spied for Botswana. Now, the full story is talking about fishermen shot dead after an informant told Botswana copper about their presence. Now, you know, there's always this rift about loyalty to your country. And these Namibians are the opinion that even if your countryman is doing something wrong, there should be a spirit of unity, there should be a spirit of solidarity that should work with each and every one of you, rather than going to spy on your countryman to another person or rather another nationality. Now let's see, this is talking about fishing quota for political party unlawful. That is Esau still speaking on the pages of the Namibian. On the pages of the Namibian, the show is talking about skateboarding, and it's saying the new holiday hobby for Onipa school kids. And skating is something that is foreign to some African countries. Like in Nigeria, it's something that Nigerians are gradually coming to know, but normally we don't really skate. But these days you find children that are actually into skating. And I think for countries that do not have ice, it's a good one, because a child should be exposed to different factors. A child should go and swim, a child should know how to skate, a child should know how to do different things. And from now, let's go over to the front page of the Citizen Tanzania. Now, in the Citizen Tanzania, it talks about why conclusion of LNG talks will now take longer. And it's saying the negotiators between the government and two energy multinationals, which were initially scheduled to end this month, are now expected to be concluded next February. The full story, of course, is found on the pages of the Citizen Tanzania. Now, let's talk about the Iwerere power project enters crucial stage, and that story could be found on the pages of the Citizen Tanzania. Every time I read Tanzania, it's always stories of progress and stories of development. Still on the Citizen Tanzania, this story is talking about a strategic key project in Samia's 2022 drive. The other thing I want you to know about Tanzania is, since the present president of Tanzania, President Samia, came into power, it has been a situation of bilateral relations, development, progress. This simply makes me understand that women in politics is actually very important, because, trust me, men would say, so men are of the opinion that politics should be something that should be left for women. But I feel everyone should be given an equal opportunity. If a man can be the president of a country because he's a man, then I also think a woman should be given equal opportunity, free of bias. Once we get to the point in Africa where your gender is not a factor of your promotion, then I think we are getting closer to development. And that is apparently on the pages of the dailies that just finished. Now, moving away from that, we're going over to the Guardian Post. Let's see what the Guardian Post has in store for us. First of all, they are telling us they are going to be on recess till they resume on the 6th of January 2023. Below that story, it's saying an interview with the Mina boss. Atandanji takes polls of country. And if you look at this, you see the various pulses he's given. He's given the updates of the progress that has been made so far in his country. He's saying stay calm, progressively returning to the north. He says calmness is progressively returning to the northwest and the southwestern region of his country, because we all know that Cameroon has been plagued with crisis. He's also saying, and he argues, that the northwest and the southwest represent 10% of the country's population, but have over 30% representation in government. He's also justifying why Biya is a role model that inspired millions across the world. Of course, that is a contradictory statement because some Cameroonians, and even those that are not Cameroonians, could say otherwise about President Biya being a role model that inspires lots of people in the country. Still on the pages of the Guardian Post Cameroon, it's saying, at installation, Ufo Mukete tax traditional councillors to fight land grabbing. Land grabbing is a factor that keeps playing over and over again on the African scene. In Nigeria, we have land grabbing as one of the major factors that lead to conflict between communities. You have this community and this community that share borders, they share boundaries, and most of the reasons for the deaths and the conflicts is because this community's own is claiming ownership of this particular land, and the other community is also claiming ownership. And this is not just something that is happening or streamlined to Nigeria, but is also happening in Ufo Mukete as the councillors are doing their job and they are fighting against land grabbing on the pages of the Guardian Post Cameroon. Now, of course, the last but not the least story for today, we're moving over to the front page Liberia. Let's see what's happening in Liberia today. Let's see what the front page has in store for us. Now, on the pages of the front page, it says the tales of inmates at the Salian Central Prison. On the pages of the front page, this could be found on pages 3. If you want to find more on the story, you could check pages 3 of the front page Liberia. Now, still on the front page, this story is talking about more confusion in Angel's death. And of course, if you're curious about that story, you could check the pages of the front page. And above that, this story is reading this, and it's saying that the traffic law is a major cause of conflict in the front page, and people are speaking on that on the pages of the front page Liberia, talking about the traffic law on the pages of the front page. And my dear viewers, this is the last dailies for today. This is where I'm going to be concluding today's edition of the African Newspaper Review, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa here in the city of Cotonou. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. Let me just erase that to make sure I am done for today. And I'm definitely going to see you same time tomorrow. My name is Hazel. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye. To end this news edition, here's a recap of our top stories. The Higher School of Renewable Energy, ESMA, proceeded on Friday to the presentation of certificates to 26 technicians. We also saw that the United Nations experts say the ice cap on Africa's biggest peak, Tanzania's Mount Kilimanjaro, is predicted to melt by 2050. And Denis Ngwezo, who chairs the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya, calls for a peaceful resolution to the country's political crisis. Thanks for tuning in to Golfe TV Africa. I am Hazel OGOIGBE. Enjoy the rest of your day.